Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Diana Kim, Criminal Justice Librarian, and this is part 2 of the Developing a Search Strategy series, Expanding Keywords. So, as you recall from part 1, we initially developed our initial research question. But at the end of this video, you will also know how to expand those initial keywords that we identified from that research question by incorporating synonyms. We talked about the 5 steps to building a search strategy in part 1. This is defining your topic and identifying your initial keywords. These are topics that we talked about in part 1. In this video, we will also talk about expanding keywords using synonyms, and then in later parts, we will learn how to connect keywords with connectors and choose the databases that we want to search in. So, how does this work? Well, we start out with our initial research question. What does the research tell us about the efficacy of court-ordered substance abuse treatment? As you recall, we have identified 4 different keywords from that initial research question. Now what we do is we take each one of those terms in isolation and expand them using synonyms. In other words, think of other words that mean the same thing for each one of the words or terms that you have identified. For efficacy, this would look like effectiveness, success or successfulness. For court ordered, possibly court mandated, compulsory, or required. For substance abuse, drug abuse, chemical dependency, or addiction. And depending on the direction you want to go here, you could also use alcoholism, that kind of spin. But for purposes of this example, I'm going to focus on more of the drug aspects. And then finally, for treatment, terms like therapy and programs are synonymous for treatment. And just as an aside, the synonyms that you use, they don't necessarily have to be absolute synonyms. Sometimes you will choose related terms, something that's close. For example, treatment and program isn't exactly the same, but it's similar. So sometimes you want to incorporate those types of terms as well. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, why is this even necessary? We had that initial research question. We chose 4 very nice topic keywords. We can go into the databases right now and do a search. And that is absolutely true. But what we're wanting to do is predict author word usage. Because if we go into the database with just those 4 terms, while we will probably find a few articles that are on point, let's say going back to our initial examples, let's say we use substance abuse in our search, but the authors of many of the articles don't use the term substance abuse. They refer to programs as chemical dependency programs or addiction programs. If we would have stopped with using only substance abuse, we will miss out on a number of articles that deal with the exact same topic because we did not put those terms in the database. The databases will only find what you ask them to find. So if you don't enter a term specifically, it's not going to look for it. It's not going to assume that, oh, you want efficacy, so you're talking about effectiveness. The computer doesn't understand that. So you have to be very direct in explaining to it what you want it to find. So that's why we predict the author's word usage by engaging in this process, because it makes the net that we grab, in other words, that we throw out there to get articles, much wider. Because we are still finding relevant articles, we're just finding articles that are worded slightly different from each other. So now let's go back to our initial research question. What does the research tell us about the efficacy of court-ordered substance abuse treatment? Now we have all of these different terms that we can enter into the database. Now, to help you with this process, I have created a strategic searching worksheet that you can use. This will be in my materials in Blackboard for you to access if you wish to do that. And essentially what it has on it, it's a two-sided document that has a box for you to write your research topic, your question, and then go through this process of sort of underlining or circling. I'm sort of old school. I really like to look at things in print, and sometimes things come to me better when I'm actually writing things down and looking at them as opposed to just thinking in my head or looking at something on a screen. So this really will give you a hands-on, step-by-step approach to going through this process. And then it goes into expanding with expanding the keywords with the synonymous terms, choosing your databases, and all of that kind of stuff that we'll cover later as well, all in this one little document. But it's a handy thing to have, and so you will find that in Blackboard as well. Okay, so a little review. What have we learned here? We've learned how to expand our keywords. And for a knowledge check, how do we do that? We simply add synonymous or related terms to our initial keywords. So, any questions about this, please feel free to contact me in any of the ways that you wish. In part 3, we'll move on to how we connect those keywords now that we've expanded them using synonyms. So stay tuned.